All right, all praises. Go ahead now. Most certainly due to the Most High God, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace to you. In the name of his son, Jesus, I kind of truly bless each and every single time that I can come before the priest of word. And never do I count it as a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm going to get right into today's topic on the eve of uh, the 4th of July, where it commemorates the national independence of the United States, where we, quite frankly, around the country, first had Juneteenth, which was really the okie doke when you really think about it. It doesn't make sense to be you celebrating a national holiday with commemorating a time that did not free so-called Negro, black people in this country, so-called African Americans. Secondly, right after that, you celebrate the 4th of July, a time in which we were still enslaved in this country. It makes no sense. And so what I want to deal with today is this issue of freedom. And freedom being misunderstood. We don't understand what freedom even is. Freedom is based on two things. It's based on sovereignty and it's based on land. Always has been, always will be. Freedom doesn't mean that you can vote. Freedom doesn't mean that you can go into a restaurant and necessarily sit down and spend your money with somebody else and eat. That's not what freedom is. Freedom is sovereignty and it's about land. And that battle to have sovereignty and that battle to have land is a battle that has gone on since time immemorial. And we, quite frankly, don't understand what freedom is. Not only don't we understand what freedom is, we don't understand who we are as a people. And that also is at the core of our problem. Because the problem that we have, when you look at us, we're destroyed people. And the foolishness and the lack of knowledge is apparent when you look at what we're doing as a people. And so I want to start off in Deuteronomy the 28th chapter in verse 15, because our problem that we have ultimately stems from the fact that we have a problem with our God. You say, what do you mean? If you didn't know, I'm here to tell you, as I've told you in years prior, that we are the chosen people of God. When I say chosen, when you read this book and it's talking about Israel, that's who he's talking about. Okay, and I want to show you that through the Bible. This is Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, verse 15. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So in verses 1 through 14 of Deuteronomy 28, Moses told of the blessings that would come for obedience. Here he's telling you that disobedience brings about curses. So he said, curse shalt thou be in the city, and curse shalt thou be in the field. Curse shall be thy basket and thy store. Curse shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. Wherever you go, you're going to be cursed. Your children will be cursed. Economically, you're going to be cursed. Curse shalt thou be when thou comest in, and curse shalt thou be when thou goest out. Let's skip down a little bit and pick it up at verse 30. It says, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. So now when it says that, it's referring to, quite frankly, the rape that would occur of your woman by those who conquer you. Look at the history of the so-called Negro, so-called African American in this country that has taken place. That took place even before your woman got ownership. She's not your woman anymore. She belongs to the state and to the streets. I'm going to speak plainly to you. She don't even belong to you anymore. That's what's happening in this sojourn in America, in the Western world. But your woman was taken on that long trek to the shores, in the slave castles, in some of the housing that was set up by the enslavers, on the ship, on the way to the shore, on the shore, throughout the course of chattel slavery in this country. That's what's taking place. So he said, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. That's what happened to us in this country. We built this country. People can say what they want, but 246 years of free labor, that's the genesis of the economic prowess of this superpower, which we call the United States. And thou shalt not dwell therein, thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. And this is what happened in the times of captivity. Verse 32, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. Your children will be sold as slaves. And that's what happened to us. Our children were sold on the auction blocks. I'm going to skip down a little bit. In verse 45, it said, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. And we are destroyed as a people. We are destroyed as a people. We are totally lost in the sauce. We've lost our minds. We don't know which way is up. He said, moreover, we're in the dark. He said, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And this is the reason. The reason is because we sinned against God. That's how we ended up in the condition that we're in. But he said, these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So this is a sign, the one that bears these curses. We're going to continue to read. It's going to become plainer, or more plain as to who this people is, just who these people are. And they shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, upon thy seed forever. I'm going to skip down to verse 64. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And because we didn't want to serve the true and living God, we were cast into slavery, scattered all over this earth. Okay? And there we worship these false gods. We worship falsely from the religion and the faith systems that were given to us by those who conquered us, by those who enslaved us. Verse 68, just in case you didn't know, it said, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, Egypt, he's not saying you're going into Egypt by way of ships, like travel-wise. He's saying you're going into bondage. Egypt for Israel is synonymous with bondage. He says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. So you're going into slavery by way of slave ships. He says, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So you're going into slavery to be sold. And then it said, as slaves, we were put on the auction blocks. We came into slavery by way of slave ships. See, these curses serve as a sign as to who Israel is. It cannot be the people that call themselves the Judah. They were the middlemen in the slave trade. They experienced economic prosperity. It cannot be them. Historically, it's not them. Biblically, it's not them. Somebody's perpetrating a fraud. Nevertheless, he says, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. What does he mean, no man shall buy you? Nobody's going to redeem you. In other words, nobody's going to get you out of this situation. See, even though we don't wear this chains of shadow slavery, we are still not totally free because we don't have land and sovereignty. Let's go to Exodus, the 20th chapter. See, it's all about you being free. And when he found his people in Goshen, right, found them in the sense of making them into a nation and bringing them out of the land, he gave them commandment. The land of Egypt, of Mitzrayim, or Kemet, he told them, he said, I am the Lord thy God. I'm in Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of thy house of bondage. See, Egypt is synonymous with bondage. So when he said you're going into Egypt again with ships, he's saying you're going into bondage by way of slave ships. Look at the Brooks diagram. They packed us like sardines in a can and took us to North, Central, and South America to in the Caribbean, and that's how we got into slavery. But he says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," and we refused. And we worship falsely. Even after he manifested himself unto these people and went into a covenant with these people, you can read about it in Exodus 19 and Exodus 24. What did the people do? They said, all we would do, all the Lord has spoken, we would do and be obedient. And then what did they do? They went to Aaron, and when Moses was going to say, make us some gods. And they made a golden calf. They said, but it's Moses, we know not what has become of him. So he said to break off all the earrings of your young people, like your wives, give me all your jewelry, all that, and let me turn that into this deity. These be thy gods, which was brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, which is a lie. And then they continue to worship falsely. And the Lord in his mercy would send men unto them, prophets unto them, to correct the people. And they would not adhere. They would beat the prophets. They would misuse them, put them in prison. They would kill them. They smoked Jeremiah. They smoked Micaiah. They killed Zechariah. But then he sent his son. And they rebuked him or rejected him. Let's go to Luke. Because he says something. I'm in Luke, the 19th chapter. Because at this time, this is leading up to the ultimate destruction of a people. The end of freedom. See, freedom for us is misunderstood. We don't have a clue of what it means to be free. We're too busy shaking our asses all over the country on the 4th of July like it's all gravy. This is Luke, the 19th chapter, verse 41. It says, and when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. He said, not Chicago, not Baltimore, not Houston, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. Only if you had known the time of your visitation, he said, for the day shall come upon thee, that thy enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. So what's going to happen is going to be a siege. And you're going to be destroyed. He said, and they shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. What is he talking about here? He's talking about the time when that prophet of prophets came. And you rejected him. And so now he foretells of the time of the besieging of Jerusalem in the days of Titus, when he came in 70 AD. That was the end of Israel being a nation. And those that were not killed went into the interior of Africa and settled amongst those people, and they were susceptible. They were prey at the time of the transatlantic slave trade. Let's go to Luke, the 21st chapter. That's what happened. Luke 21. And let's pick it up at verse 20. It says, when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh, meaning destruction is near. He says something in verse 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. How long? Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. The times of the Gentiles is not fulfilled yet. But that's what has happened. And we sit in slavery. When I say slavery, again, we are not sitting in chattel slavery, but we are sitting in a situation where we don't have land, we don't have sovereignty. As a matter of fact, we don't even have a clue of who we are. Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter. That's why you sitting there lighting all these fireworks like you've lost your mind. I've been hearing fireworks around my house for 2 months. Deuteronomy 32nd chapter, verse 26. Negro, you weren't free at this time. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 26. And if you listen to this, like, share, and subscribe. If you listen to this, like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't already done so. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 26. I said I would scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. The reason I say that, like, share, subscribe, is because this page is shadow banned. Like, share, and subscribe. So he said, I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So the memory of who you are, basically, we don't even have a clue of what we are, of who we are. Our identity, we change every generation. Negro, color, black, Afro-American, African-American, American descendant of slaves. We got something new every generation. Don't have a clue of who we are. And that's the problem. That's the problem. I want to read something here. Because the problem, though, also is that we continue to be steeped in sin. See, what kind of leaders do you have if you don't have leaders telling you about your wretched behavior? We always want to cast the blame on somebody else. We want to talk about somebody else and what they have done. No, Negro, what have you done? I'm looking at the latest news out of Chicago. Over this weekend of freedom and celebration, Chicago weekend saw there were 92 people shot that they know of, and 16 killed. Amongst them, 2 officers, and at the latest count, I saw 7 children. Why are you killing people in celebration at this time? A celebration of freedom that you never had here. So let me get this straight. You Negroes gonna celebrate Juneteenth, which is a farce to celebrate as a federal holiday. Now you're gonna celebrate. You weren't free then. Now you're going to celebrate the 4th of July. You were not free then. But at the same time, you're going to shoot 92 people. You shot 92 people. After months of rioting and looting and burning up the city there and other cities across the country. Where's the moral compass to tell you that you are wrong? To tell you that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. But then you want to talk about Black Lives Matter. Then you want to talk about what a cop has done. What are you doing? What are you doing? And if we really want to talk about it, according to what the latest statistics of abortion, and I'll talk about abortion, because we can talk about the murders in Chicago, the murders in Baltimore, the murders in the cities in which we occupy in significant numbers, does not compare to the murder of these children when you go into these clinics of death to kill your progeny. In the latest numbers, we had 34.7% of all abortions. Of live births, we had 575,000. Of induced abortion, we had 295,000. Shut up. Don't say anything. Don't want to hear about what anybody else has done. What have you done? See, we don't want to take accountability. We still, again, shaking our ass on the 4th of July. It's the 4th. Get the pork ribs, which you shouldn't be eating. Get all the fireworks. You should have been saving that money for something important. Let's go out and risk our life to go to the park and celebrate this foolishness. When are we going to get a clue? See, at a certain point, certain point, it's not about telling you. At a certain point, it's about it being a testament against you. This is Hosea the 4th chapter. I want to read something to you. And you know, we've been foolish for a long time. This is Hosea the 4th chapter, verse 1. It said, hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. He said, by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out in blood, touching blood. So that same type of foolishness, the same type of mindset we had in the land. What we doing in the land? Swearing, lying, killing, stealing, committing adultery. What we doing now? Swearing, lying, killing, stealing, committing adultery, fornicating, homosexuality, run amok. The men out here, on one hand, you got them running around killing people, running around in skinny jeans, shooting people, shooting innocent people. I saw one case the week even before you had what in Chicago, you had them shoot a young 1-month-old, a 1-month-old, excuse me. You shooting kids, running around in skinny jeans. On one hand. Then on the other hand, you got homosexuality running up amongst our men. And amongst our women, what? Just to be honest with you and just keep it real and plain with you. We are a nation within a nation, but a nation of what? A nation of sodomites, whores, and whoremongers. I know we don't want to kill us. I know we don't want to hear that, but quite frankly, you see I don't care. You see, I don't care about what you want to hear, how it's said. That's another thing. Well, you're being too harsh. How you going to say it? It ain't about what you say. It's how you say. No, you Negroes need the truth. Trifling. Need to be taking accountability. And I'm going to say this too also, at the root of the problem is we have a dearth of manhood. It would not be the case. You cannot convince me otherwise that if we had men in our households, that all of this foolishness would be going on in our communities. Well, older people can't walk out in the street. Well, you're going to get some popcorn. You done worked all your life. You done retired from a job, and you coming out the popcorn shop, and they come in and shoot you. Young boy just killed some, not too far from where I'm at, just robbed some man coming out of the gas station, killed him. Retired firefighter, killed him. Didn't get any money, trying to rob him. The question I have is, where's your father? Because you put his foot in your behind early on, you wouldn't have progressed to that point. I don't believe that. I understand there are some that would go that route, even if they have a good home with stable families. But when you do have a stable family, you are less likely to go down that road of poverty. You are less likely to go down that road of being uneducated. You are less likely to go down that road of being incarcerated. See, we have to repair our families. And that means we have to be what God made us to be. Before you even get to that point, you have to be a man and you have to be a woman and you have to know your role and we have to cherish marriage. Not even according to what the Western world has done. You see what the Western world has told you, that 2 men and 2 women can be married. You see what the Western world has told you, that the woman has all the power and she's the boss in this marriage. In this family. Happy wife, happy life. Please. Women, and we understand women have been running our communities for decades now, and look at the community. Why is that? Because women are out of their position. Why is that? Because men are out of their position. Why is that? Because these children are out of position. Nobody's playing their rightful position. Hey man, like, share, and subscribe. If the few people that are watching. That's why. So the same thing that was going on back here, he said, therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, with the fowls of the heaven, yea, the fish of the sea also shall be taken away. So because you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose everything. He said, yet let no man strive, nor reprove another for thy people as they that strive with the priest. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother. Listen, you're going to lose everything. But then he said something. He said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. See, God has rejected you when you reject knowledge, and knowledge is coming from him. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. He made us a kingdom, a nation of priests. He said, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. See, you've thrown away your moral compass. And a man of God is supposed to be telling you what thus saith the Lord, so that you can walk a righteous path. Not that you should go out and shoot almost 100 people in a weekend. Not that so that you should kill hundreds of thousands. Actually, we've killed since Roe v. Wade 20 million children. Black babies, 20 million. How can you talk about what anybody else has done? You've been more surgical in killing us than eugenicists of old. You've been more surgical and more adamant in killing us than the Ku Klux Klan. You have been more strategic in killing your own progeny than these rogue racist police officers that are in some of these police forces. See, you have to take accountability. You have to get back right with your God. That's what we need. That's what we need. But Negroes want to talk about Black Lives Matter and they're supporting the organization. You better ask where that money coming from and what's being done with the money. And then they're pushing a program to destroy Black masculinity, to destroy the nuclear family. You cannot build a nation without men being men. You cannot build a nation, again, we're a nation within a nation. You cannot build a nation with your men in a dress. Can't be done. Can't be done. Cannot be done. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. So what needs to be done? We need to turn back to our God. That's what we need to do. We're in 2 Chronicles. And like I said, like, share, and subscribe. This channel is shadow banned. Like, share, and subscribe. This is 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter. This is after Solomon dedicated the temple. And he prayed to the Lord that if the people sin against thee, for there is no man which sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them over before their enemies, and they carry them away captives into a land far off and near, which is what's happened unto us. He said, yet if they bethink themselves in the land whither they are carried captive, and turn and pray unto thee in the land of their captivity, saying, we have sinned, we have done amiss, and have dealt wickedly. I'm in 2 Chronicles 6 and 38. He says, if they return to thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their captivity, whether they have carried them captives, and prayed toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, and toward the city which thou hast chosen, and toward the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou from the heavens, even from thy dwelling place, their prayer and their supplications, and maintain their cause, and forgive thy people which have sinned against thee. See, we can still get it together, but not how we are acting. We in need of some strong comfort. We in need of somebody with some strong rebuke. We need to be turned back to the right way. This is 2 Chronicles 7 and 12, because there was a divine confirmation of this in 7 and 1 through 3, because the glory of the Lord filled the temple. But then it says something in verse 12, and the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and have chosen this place to myself for the house of sacrifice. If I shut up heaven that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. See, that's where our solution lies. Our solution does not lie in this historically racist Democratic Party. Our solution doesn't lie in this Republican Party. Our solution does not lie in voting. Our solution does not lie in the institutions that we frequent and go into extreme debt only to become greater servants to those who are in charge. Our freedom and our liberation and our solution does not lie in any of that. We have a spiritual problem. And you are seeing the effects of a spiritual problem. When you kill 20 million, you kill 20 million babies out of the 60 million babies approximately 60 million babies that have been killed in this country. Black folks have killed 20 million. We had high STD rates. We have murder rates that are sky high. Look at us as a people. You're looking at a destroyed people. But we can still, even with all that, we can still turn back to the Most High in sincerity and in truth and worship him how we should. That's what our solution is. With that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you, we at the House of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you've been edified through the ministry and would like to leave a donation, you can do so on our website, www.israelteach.org. 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the ministry. There are also books that I've written that are available. These books are in the description. If you would like to purchase them on Amazon and other Barnes and Noble and other places where books are sold. Into Egypt Begin with Shifts, the Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays, Head Like Wool, Feet Like Burn Brass. For there shall be great tribulation. In Defense of Biblical Polygyny. Feast Days, The Shadow of Things to Come. And I believe there's one more. But anyway, these are in the description. And like I said, you can purchase them at Amazon.com and other places as well. So with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say peace and I pray that you are edified.